Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 245. And today what we're gonna talk about, man, is first things first. Stepped on the scale this morning. I'm usually about 150 something, close to 160. I stepped on the scale this morning at 165. So that means, you know, the influx of carbs that I had this week worked. I just gotta cut the weight off, but being 165, I don't feel that bad, man. I don't feel out of shape. I don't feel lethargic. I'm probably gotta do cardio for the next, instead of 3 days a week, bump it up to four, And I recently started doing Stairmaster again, and I can tell that I'm out of shape, you know. So when I say out of shape, because it's like there's a difference between doing Stairmaster cardio or doing treadmill cardio. Stairmaster cardio is a little bit more intense for you, And so, yeah. But in this episode, what we're gonna talk about is a whole bunch of things, right? But the main thing I'm gonna pinpoint on is I was telling somebody the other day. I said just because somebody's a good person doesn't mean that they're a good person for you. And it's true. A lot of people are good people. A lot of people are decent people. But you have to watch out for what they say. Like, oh, I'm a good person, this and this and that, yada yada yada. Why does it keep happening to me, right? Chances are they're not a good person. Or if somebody keeps you at arm's length, let them. Because I'm also a firm believer in be glad that every problem's not your problem. That it's not your job to save every relationship, every friendship. Sometimes you literally just have to let shit die. You can't keep coming back or, keep giving CPR to a situation because it is what it is. I once went a whole week without talking to one of my exes. And it was really strange too. Because she called me. This is after a week of not talking to her. She called me. Random Friday afternoon. And of course I didn't pick up because I'm like, what do you want? And then this is how I knew she was pissed. Because she followed that up with a text message about 10 minutes later. Saying, oh, like, we back on this bullshit again. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, back on what bullshit? We can't be back on no bullshit if we ain't together. We can't be back on nothing if there's no us, right? And like that's where I draw my line at, man. It's like I can sit there and be cordial with you, whatever it is, but yeah, I don't waste my time with people who don't know what they want. And that goes with friendships, relationships, whatever it is. It's like I'm the type of person. We talking about goals. We talking about investing. We talking about X, Y, and Z. We're not talking about other people. We're not talking about some trivial bullshit that doesn't matter. We're not talking about social media. We're not talking about anything of that nature, right? Because for me, yes, social media is great. Social media is what it is. I remember back in the day when YouTube first came out, you couldn't do no longer than 15-second videos. And you had to plug that shit up to your computer. Nowadays, you can upload it right from your phone. You can have a whole podcast right from here. So technology is great. Technology is beautiful. What people use it for, that's their own thing. I'm not here to cast judgment. I don't really care how you pay your bills, because bills keep coming, no matter what it is. But yeah, be glad that some problems they're not your problems. You can feel sorry for people, whatever it is, but you got to keep it moving. And people want to be like, what? It's like, yeah, be glad that your problems ain't your problems. Because there's somebody out there that wishes that they wish they had your problems, you know? And the sad thing about it is a lot of these problems that people are in, whether it's professional or personable, is because they lack boundaries. You know, they lack boundaries because it is what it is. You know, for whatever reason, that's what they do. And there's really nothing that you can say to that individual to help them see that they lack boundaries, right? Because when I say that, it's true. Most of the people that I know that are in relationships that end up in precarious situations is because they lack the boundaries. Like, I knew this one girl. She's finally getting divorced from her husband, and she got a gang of kids, right? But the thing about it is, her husband, when they were together, was consistently cheating on her. When I say consistently, he was. And then I remember she tried to give her one more shot, and the dude brought over a chick that he was fucking around with at their spot. Come to find out that his high school daughter at the time, or daughters at the time, I got them home early from school. They left school early. Walk into the house. They see this bitch on the couch and, you know, doing what she doing, and it's like, they proceed to whoop her ass. And the whole time, I guess after the fact, you know, somebody had posted it. I think she had posted it to her stories or whatever it was. And the whole time, and then like she had posted the pictures into her stories and into her what do you call that? Into her her IG. And so people were leaving comments and everything too, and I'm like, the only thing I could think of is like, when are you gonna cut ties with this dude? Like, somebody has to consistently show you who they are, and you don't believe them. You have no right to complain. You're like, what? It's like, yeah. If somebody shows you consistently who they are, you have no right to complain. It's like, I don't understand how these women will sit here and make excuses and not realize that they're the cause of their own issues, right? You know, not realize that they've ignored the red flags or did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, it's not hard to see. You're with the guy who doesn't care about you. You're with the guy who will do whatever he wants to do because he knows that you're not gonna leave. And I've told many of homegirls this too. I'm like, it's like, the problem ain't them, the problem is you. They're like, what? They're like, what, Mikey? It's like, yeah. It's like, think about it. If you've been together for longer than a year, shorter than 5, there's a possibility that you're gonna be like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. But if you've been together longer than that, and it's like, and the same shit keeps happening, and it's like, the same tired bullshit keeps happening, and I'm like, okay, if the same pattern keeps happening, then why are you still here? You know? Why are you still in a situation where your wants and your needs aren't being met? You know? Why are you still in a situation where you know this person isn't shit? And vice versa too. I've told my homegirls too, it's like, hey, be careful what you say, because once you say it, we're gonna take that shit into you know, like it's the Bible. It's like my ex, right? One time she called me at midnight. And I'm in my own house, chilling, watching a movie. I pick up because it's midnight. I thought something's going on, whether it's her, kids, whatever it was, right? Because sometimes her kids would call me from her phone, so I'm thinking it's one of them. So I pick up, and it's her, and so we have a conversation. I said, "Hey, you good?" And then like she starts asking me all these questions, and I'm like, number one, why are you asking me these questions? And number two, why do you care? And like this went on for like 2-3 weeks. So finally I addressed it. I'm like, yo, the last couple 2-3 weeks been kind of weird. It's like all the shit that you've been doing is like, why are you doing that? And for lack of better terminology, she lacked boundaries. And necessarily so did I too. I definitely lack some boundaries too. But I never once called her at midnight or whatever it was. It's like, it's like maybe like a week ago, she called me. Because I called her like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I figured, okay, either she's asleep or she must be busy. So, and then phone starts ringing. Phone rings at like 11:30. Again, it's her. I pick up, and she's like, "Oh, you sleeping?" Yeah, it's 11:30 at night. Why the fuck wouldn't I be sleeping? In my head, I'm thinking this, right? And I said, "Oh," and I just simply say, "You good?" And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, you good?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then I told her, "Okay." And then I hung up the phone. I don't, I've always thought that was weird because it's like, I think that's just something that a lot of people, and I've told people this too. Is like, yo, like the reason why you keep going through this same shit is because you lack boundaries. Or it's like, I famously had a friend of mine say, "Well, I'm trying to institute boundaries, but like X, Y, and Z." And like, that's because you're not enforcing shit. Because if you're trying to do something, that means you're doing nothing at all. So I think that's extremely important to realize that, like, yo, it's like you can't sit there and like expect people to respect your boundaries when you don't even respect them. You can't expect people to do X, Y, and Z when you're not doing X, Y, and Z. It's like take for instance competitive bodybuilding, right? Everybody who knows me knows I used to compete. Now, do I look like I compete? No. Am I in shape? Somewhat, yes. But I'm never ever gonna sit there and give advice to a situation where my advice is not warranted. I think that's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. But I think that's important, man. Having boundaries and knowing when to cut people off. And cutting people off sucks. It does, And that's just something that you have to deal with because everybody will outgrows everybody at one point. I didn't realize this when I was in high school. I didn't realize this till after I graduated college. But you can literally see people's lives play out in front of them. I had a friend of mine, really, really good friend of mine growing up. It was the four of us. There were 4 dudes. We used to always do everything together. And the 2 of us went off to college. The other 2 didn't. I'm not just saying that we're better than them because we went to college and they didn't. That's not what I'm saying. the other two dudes who didn't go to college, one of the guys, out of the four of us, he was probably the smartest. He just never applied himself. And I remember, like we was in a, I think there was in a physics class or something, because we never really had overlapping classes, you know. But anyway, and so one of his teachers had told me, hey, like, hey, you know, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're not gonna amount to much in life. And 20 years later, that teacher's right, because 20 years later, he's still working the same job, you know, at the same grocery store that he worked when he was in high school. And when people, would try to bring up the fact, like, bro, like, why don't you go to school and because he was in the trades and shit, right? And I'm like, bro, like, I'm like, bro, just go to school, get your trade degree, and move forward. You know, it's like, and then like he used to always make up excuses and shit, like, oh yeah, you know what? If I had like, the federal government paying for my schooling, because I went to school on a federal grant. And I was like, bro, you act like that's the only type of grants that are out there. It's like when I was a student at UH Manoa, I took him down to the financial aid office. It's like, bro, here's all the list of scholarships, and I guarantee you, like you walk in there, you ask the girl what what you can, what you qualify for, because you're a first time generation college student. She's gonna say that you qualify for damn near everything in that office, or for all them scholarships, right? And he just didn't want it, and it's sad because I run into him every once in a while, and like you can kind of tell that he's regretting his decisions, because it's like, bro, it's like you've been working the same job for 20 years. And like I said, cutting off boundaries doesn't necessarily mean that the person's bad. It just means that you've outgrown each other, and like there's nothing wrong with that. It's like people need to stop equating cutting off people because it's something, because there's an issue. Because a lot of the times there is no issue. It's just two people wanting different things, and it's like I was having a conversation last night, and and this person was telling me like, oh, about their friends and how they can't lose weight, this and this and that, and like they're describing what she's describing what she's eating, and I said, well, all you did was describe the process of whole foods, which is whole nutrient foods, and not the grocery store, but versus processed foods. Processed foods, you'll get fat like that, versus whole foods, it's going to take you a minute to gain some weight, it's like, because I don't want to say that it's impossible to get fat off whole foods, but it's pretty damn impossible to do because it's full of nutrients versus fast food and shit like that. Anyway, so this person is telling this other person about what they're eating and everything too, and she goes, that's bullshit. She goes, what? I was like, yeah. It's like, because if you were really doing what you said you were doing, you would be losing weight. You wouldn't be gaining weight. And mind you, this person has been big or fat or almost obese for majority of their time frame. And I said, and I told her, look, like, I've seen how she eats. You forget that I've been places with you guys. It's like I've seen how your friends eat. They don't eat healthy, and it's like because and like they be calling us skinny, this and this and that. I was like, yeah, anybody compared to them would be skinny because they're obese, and I simply told her once, it's like, yo, it's like you lack the boundaries. That's why these people keep coming at you, So now that you doing X, Y, and Z, it's like, okay, You can do that, but you got to realize that boundaries is important. You know, it's not just for French. It's not just for romantic interest or whatever it is. Because it's like at the end of the day, if you want better, you have to do better. And sometimes you got to tell a motherfucker, hey man, you can't talk to me like that. I don't care. I don't care how well you think you know me. Talk to me like you got some fucking sense. And it's true. I think a lot of people will look at you and say, "Oh yeah, well I can get over and so just because I've known it for 20 years." No, nigga, you can't. You know, I will always preach that boundaries are important. And I got a saying that I tell people: once I tell you take care of yourself, that means I don't want to hear from you ever again. That means two things gonna happen. You gonna get blocked on everything, and if I got your phone number, text messages gone, deleted. Because why sit there and create space or save space for somebody who doesn't want it? And I think about people like that from time to time. I wonder where they at, and how they doing, but that's about it. I don't sit there and lose sleep over, the fact that I had to end the friendship, because I'm never going to trip on that. Because if I had to end the friendship, that means I've exhausted every other avenue that I could have to maintain that. And I can't. The one thing about me is that I'm very goal driven, and I can't sit there and watch somebody say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that," and never get it done. I don't care if it's a bodybuilding show. I don't care if it's a career switch. I don't care anything at all. I remember once, I had I've said this story before. I've had a former friend of mine. She used to always complain about her job, and she had ample opportunities to go get a brand new career, and and with HPD, and she didn't, for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason was, but it's like it had something to do with, like, she had missed the written exam for the second time, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then, like, her son was graduating high school, and she's giving him advice and all this shit. I'm like, why would you give him advice about what he should do when you don't even know what you want to do? And she's like, what? I said, yeah. I said, you're gonna give somebody else advice on their life, but look at you. You can't even do what you want to do. Or you too afraid to do what you want to do. Like, it don't work that way. And I hate to break it to you, but you can't be giving advice to people when you haven't done anything yourself. It's like, she's telling them go to school, get a degree. And I'm like, you don't even have a 4-year degree. You have an associate, but you never went back and finished your bachelor's degree. You never even started on the bachelor's degree. So it's just stuff like that, and it's like it's so frustrating because it's like I'm never gonna sit there and give people advice on something I've never done. And when people do that, and I'm like, yo, what? Like, why? How you gonna give somebody else advice about what they should do when you don't even follow their own advice for yourself? That's like me telling somebody, oh yeah, by the way, this is what you do to lose weight. And I'm 165. And I'm 200. Or I'm 250 and I'm fat. Extremely fucking fat. It's just shit like that. It's like you can't give people advice when you haven't done anything yourself, bro. And so it goes back to everything that I pinpointed in this podcast episode, man. And it's like boundaries are important. And knowing when to cut people off is extremely important, because just because they're a good person doesn't mean they're good for you. Yo, this is 25 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the full peace. Private player, positive and pushing. I'll see y'all next week Sunday. I love y'all, and like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace.